Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome to the video. I hope your day is going great. Mine's been awesome because Overwatch League is coming back tonight and I couldn't be more happy about that. I love the league. It's been so good so far and we have some amazing matches coming up tonight, which we will be talking about at the end of the video. I will be giving my predictions, but also in this video, before we get to that, we are briefly going to be going over the patch notes. I know you guys have probably seen videos about them. You've seen it on the Overwatch forums or Reddit or Twitter, wherever. I'm going to talk about them briefly and how it will impact the Overwatch League in the future, but we'll only spend like a minute or two on it max, just because again, you guys have probably heard about it. Then moving on, we are going to be talking about all of the Overwatch League teams right now and who is going to be making the Stage 1 playoffs. I will be giving my full predictions, and trust me guys, I believe that you can trust in my predictions, because overall so far, I feel like I've done a good job at predicting which teams would be good, which teams would be bad. I know I kind of missed the mark with the Paris Eternal. They're really good at GOATs. I put them at like rank 15, but clearly they're like a top 5 team right now, beating the LA Gladiators and London Spitfire. They look great. But other than that, I said that the Guangzhou Charge would be underrated. I know Chengdu Hunters did beat them, but honestly, after Chengdu Hunters getting wrecked by Seoul Dynasty and losing to the Florida Mayhem, I feel like that match was kind of just a fluke, and Guangzhou Charge kind of just choked when the pressure came to it because it was their first match in the Overwatch League. But clearly they've shown that they're a strong team, and Chengdu have showed that they're much worse of a team. Which, I mean, we kind of just jumped out of the intro and I started talking about the teams already, but we're going to put that on pause. I'm going to be breaking down every single team and telling you if they do have a chance at making the Stage 1 playoffs or not, and I will be making my official 8-team prediction on who will make it. And then again, lastly, I will be giving my predictions for the matches today, what you can expect, who will win, etc. If you guys are excited for this video, join the giveaway. Link is down below in the comments. I have it pinned right now. There's like 4 days left to enter, guys. You do not want to miss out. I'm telling you right now, it is super easy to enter, and you could easily win an Overwatch League item. It is worldwide, guys. It doesn't matter where you live. America, Europe, Australia, China, Korea. I will ship these items to whoever wins. Trust me. Now, let's go ahead and hop into it. Anyways, let's jump straight into the patch notes, and we'll skim through it. We'll start off with Junkrat. It seems like he's getting a buff here on his frag launcher. Impact damage increased from 40 to 60. I think this is direct hits, so if you hit somebody directly with a grenade, it will do 60 damage now. Moving on, this is a huge nerf coming into Lucio, and I do believe this will impact GOATs a lot. His overall speed boost that he gives when he sits on his music that gives speed is reduced from 30 to 20%. It's not like major, but it's a decent change. Like, that's going to be noticeable. It's going to slow your team down. But the big one, when Lucio amps it up and speeds his team with the big boost, it goes from 70 to 50%. Now, a 20% difference is very noticeable compared to a 10% difference. And overall, this will definitely nerf engages coming out, not only from just GOATs, but also dives. Like, this is kind of going to hurt Lucio overall in the meta. Lucio was a staple also when it came to the dive meta, and he was known for being really good at pilling for like a Zenyatta and just whoever he needed to keep alive. So it'll be a little more tough to do that now, and I think this is a big hit overall to Lucio. So this Lucio change is the big one. There's a quick buff here to McCree. Reaper taking a little bit of a nerf. Symmetra, I think she's getting a little bit of a buff. And then another big one, we have Zari here, the particle cannon. Alternate fire radius reduced from 2 to 3 to 1 to 2 based on the energy level. So this means that Zari is going to have a really hard time dealing with like tracers because she won't be able to easily right click and just hit them on the ground. So overall, this means that Zari will just do less damage, especially when teams are clumped up. So this is a big nerf as well, and I do think this will make GOATs be weaker. Moving on to the next one, we have Zenyatta. Orb of Discord effect reduced from 30% to 25%. So it's like Zenyatta's team is going to do less damage, but Zenyatta himself will be able to do more damage personally because his damage increased from 46 to 48 per orb shot. So overall, that's an interesting nerf. I don't think it'll impact Zenyatta that much, but it definitely hurts GOATs overall as well because GOATs is a damage lacking comp, and when you're nerfing Zarya, that's your main damage. So GOATs might be dead here, boys. It might be dead. But that's it, guys. I wanted to quickly go through the changes just so you know my thoughts on it. And now let's move on and talk about the overall standings and who is going to make it to the Stage 1 playoffs. And we'll start off with the first one, ranked number 20, the LA Valiant, who are sitting at 0-3. They have absolutely no chance at making it to the overall playoffs of Stage 1 because their schedule is incredibly hard still. This next week coming up, they have to face the Vancouver Titans and the Guangzhou Charge. There's no way they win both these matches. They might even lose them both. there's a real chance that the LA Valiant could start off 0-5. And if they win one of these matches, it doesn't really matter because guess what? They have to play the Philadelphia Fusion next week, which will be tough, and they probably won't win that one. So if they lose 2 of their next 4 matches, they will be overall sitting at 2-5 for the stage, and that won't be good enough to qualify. LA Valiant has no chance. Moving on to the next team, we have the Houston Outlaws, who also look like they have absolutely no chance, but the good thing for them is they do have an easier schedule, and if they could somehow win every single game, maybe they can slip in, but that's highly unlikely. They're currently sitting at 1-3 with 3 more matches left. They could possibly again go 4-3 if they beat the Florida Mayhem this week, the LA Valiant next week, and then in the 5th week, the Atlanta Reign. Now, I am guessing they'll probably lose one of these matches and they'll sit at either 2-5 or maybe 3-4 if they could win 2 of these, but again, that's not going to be enough to make the playoffs, so they are out. Next, we have the Washington Justice, who are currently sitting at 0-2, and they have absolutely no chance at making it. Just looking at their schedule, they are so screwed. We have Philly, San Francisco this week, the next week Seoul Dynasty, and then in week 5 they have the Paris Eternal. Like, good luck. They're not winning any of those games. They're completely out. Moving on now to the Shanghai Dragons, who actually might have a chance to make it. They're overall sitting at 1-2 right now, but they have like a decent schedule where a lot of games are winnable. Starting off this week, they have the Chengdu Hunters and the Dallas Fuel, and again, these are both winnable. Shanghai Dragons could come out of this week sitting at 3-2, despite being 1-2 right now. Then moving on to next week, they play the Dallas Fuel again back to back, which is really weird. If they win that though, they're 4-2, and then they have the London Spitfire to close it out. If they could somehow beat the London Spitfire, they'll be 5-2 at the end of the stage, and they will move on. But I don't think this will happen. I do think they might drop a game to Dallas. They'll probably drop the London game, and overall they'll end up at like 3-4 or 4-3, and it won't be enough to make it. Moving on to the next team, we have the Florida Mayhem, who are currently 1-2 and also have somewhat of a decent schedule coming up and could maybe make it. Similar situation to the Shanghai Dragons, but I don't think they will. They have the Guangzhou Charge, Houston Outlaws, Boston Uprising, and Washington Justice. There's definitely a chance they could win 3 of 4 of these and put themselves at maybe 4-3, possibly 5-2 if they pop off, but I doubt it. We'll probably see Florida Mayhem finish at 3-4 and miss the playoffs. Moving on now to the number 14 ranked Gladiators, which is an interesting team to see them ranked there, but they have had a hard schedule so far, and it doesn't get any easier. They have the London Spitfire and Hangzhou Spark this week. Then moving on to the next week, they have the Atlanta Reign and Guangzhou Charge, and because of these 4 matches being so damn hard, they could win 2 of them, maybe even 3 of them, putting them at 4-3, but 4-3 isn't going to be enough to make it in my opinion, so I don't see the LA Gladiators making it. Moving on now to the next team, we have the Boston Uprising, who are currently 1-2 and do have Fusions back now, but I don't see them making it either. They have the Seoul Dynasty and Toronto Defiant this week, probably won't win either of those, maybe one of them. Then they have the Florida Mayhem and the Dallas Fuel. Another situation like the LA Gladiators, they could win a few of them and maybe go 4-3, but more than likely will finish 3-4 and won't make it. Moving on now to rank number 13, we have the San Francisco Shock, who is a really strong team, but surprisingly is ranked so low because they have had a strong schedule just like the LA Gladiators. And it doesn't get any easier. This week they have the Hangzhou Spark and Washington Justice, which they'll probably either win both of them or go 1-1, but then moving on to the week after that, they have 2 of the best teams in the league, New York Excelsior and Paris Eternal, which they probably won't win both of those, might win one of them, and putting them again sitting at 4-3 or 3-4 at the end of this stage, not enough to make it. Moving on to number 12, we have the Guangzhou Charge, who are also 1-2, but they have a really good map differential sitting at +2, which is better than anybody going all the way up to rank number 5. But unfortunately for the Guangzhou Charge, they have 2 really hard matches finishing out the stage, but this week is actually going to be fairly easy, and they will probably go 2-0. They have the Florida Mayhem and the LA Valiant, and they will win both of these matches if I had to guess, and they'll be 3-2. But then they have the LA Gladiators and the Vancouver Titans, which they will probably lose one of them, finishing the stage off at 4-3, but they might be able to creep in just because of their map difference. I think 4-3 teams might have a chance at making the stage playoffs overall. Maybe 1 or 2 of them will slip in, and Guangzhou Charge might be one of them because, again, their map differential. Moving on now, we are in the 2-2 teams. We have the Dallas Fuel, who, guess what, have a pretty easy schedule coming up. They have the Shanghai Dragons twice, and then they close the stage out against the Boston Uprising. There is a real chance that Dallas Fuel could win all 3 of these matches and go 5-2 and make the stage playoffs. And I'm not going to bet against them. Honestly, I feel like Dallas Fuel might be one of the teams who do creep in just because of the ease of their schedule. But again, the Dallas Fuel are that team that some reason just end up losing games randomly and getting stomped out. They got 0 forward by two teams that we didn't expect them to, which was the Guangzhou Charge. Well, I guess we did expect them to get wrecked by the San Francisco Shock, but they have shown that they can get wrecked randomly, so they might lose one of these games, and if they do, they aren't going to make the playoffs because they have a -4 map differential right now. Moving on now, we have the Hangzhou Spark, who are currently 2-2, but they probably have one of the hardest schedules coming up. That's the San Francisco Shock, LA Gladiators, and Toronto Defiant to close it out. So they'll probably lose 2 of these and maybe win one of them, finishing at 3-4 or maybe 4-4. I don't think Hangzhou Spark is going to make it overall. Too hard of a schedule. Moving on now, we have number 9, one slot out of the playoffs. We have the London Spitfire, currently 2-2. And guess what, guys? You already know, I can't bet against the London Spitfire. They have the Shanghai Dragons, LA Gladiators, and Seoul Dynasty coming up. I do think they will win 2 of 3 of these, putting them at 4-3. And if I had to bet on them, I think they'll win all 3, putting them at 5-2. Overall, making the stage playoffs. Now moving into the cutoff, we have the top 8 teams who likely will make it, but probably won't because we have the Chengdu Hunters up here who aren't going to make it. I can guarantee that. But we'll start off with the Philadelphia Fusion, who are currently 2-2, and they have a pretty easy schedule coming up, so I will say they'll probably make it. They have the LA Valiant, the Washington Justice, and then they close it out against the Paris Eternal, which they'll probably lose that, but they will win 2. They're in the same situation as the London Spitfire. If they win 2 or 3, we'll probably see them make it. There is a chance they don't, though, because of map differential, but I believe in these 2 teams. Moving on now to number 7, we do have the Chengdu Hunters, who are just absolutely screwed because they have the Shanghai Dragons, Toronto Defiant, Vancouver Titans, and the Atlanta Reign coming up. They will probably lose 3 of 4 of these games, going 3-4 overall and not making it. Moving on to number 6, we do have the Toronto Defiant, who I do believe are sitting in a pretty good spot and probably will make it just because their schedule isn't that hard. Yes, they do have the New York Excelsior coming up next, which they probably will lose, but they have a chance in it. And then after that, though, it gets easy. They have the Boston Uprising, then the Chengdu Hunters, and the Hangzhou Spark, which they're definitely capable of winning 2 of these matches, and currently, again, are sitting in rank 6, so if they win 2 games, they'll probably make it. Moving on now to the number 5, Seoul Dynasty. They have like a medium schedule. They're going up against the Boston Uprising this week, and then the New York Excelsior. Probably will go 1-1. Then they have the Washington Justice next week. They'll win that one, putting them at 4-2. Then they finish it off with the London Spitfire. There is a chance they could win this, but again, Seoul Dynasty has never beat London, so I'm going to say they lose this, and Seoul Dynasty might fall out of the top 8. Based off their map differential. We'll just have to see, but they are at +4 right now, so they'll probably have a good chance at making it 4-3, similar to the Guangzhou Charge. Moving on now, we have the number 4 ranked Atlanta Reign, currently sitting at 2-1, who have an interesting schedule coming up. They face the Paris Eternal this week, which I'm gonna guess they're gonna lose here. I think Paris has a really strong GOATs. And then moving on to week 4, they have the LA Gladiators. That's also going to be a tough match for them to win, so they very well could be 2-3 coming up really soon. And then they finish the stage off going up against the Chengdu Hunters and the Atlanta Reign, which I do believe will be much easier matches for them, and they will be able to win those 2, putting them overall at 4-3, and they will probably make this stage playoffs. Moving on now to number 3, we have the Paris Eternal, who are 2-0 right now, and are the only team that have only played 2 games so far. Coming up this week, they have the Vancouver Titans and the San Francisco Shock. This is going to be very hard for them, and there is a chance they lose both of these matches, but there's also a chance they win both of them. These are coin tosses. Vancouver Titans, San Francisco Shock, and Paris Eternal right now are probably all top 5 or top 7 teams, so you have no idea how these are going to go. But then moving on, it gets a little bit easier. They have the Washington Justice and Philadelphia Fusion. They're definitely going to win 2 of these 5 matches coming up, putting them overall at 4-3, but probably will win 3 of them, putting them at 5-2, and they will advance. Moving on next, we have the Vancouver Titans and New York Excelsior, 3-0 and 4-0. No need to go in depth with these guys. They're definitely both going to make it. They're insane. Geez, I didn't expect this video to run that long, so let's go ahead and fly through my predictions for today. We have Washington Justice and Philadelphia Fusion. Philly's going to win this, probably 3-1 or 4-0, but there's a chance Washington could maybe get this to be a close match. I don't know if Boombox will be ready to play. If Boombox is there, Philly wins. If Boombox isn't there, Washington has a chance. Moving on to the next match, we have Seoul Dynasty and Boston Uprising. I think this will be a close match, but Seoul Dynasty will creep away on the 4th map, winning 3-1. Moving on to the next match, we have Guangzhou Charge and Florida Mayhem. This will be the same situation as the Seoul and Boston match. I see Guangzhou kind of creeping away on that 4th map and taking it 3-1. Moving on to the last match of the day, we have San Francisco taking on Hangzhou Spark. I don't know. This is a toss-up. It depends on which Hangzhou Spark shows up, but I'm going to guess that San Francisco Shock are more prepared for this, and they do take it in a 3-2. I do think Hangzhou Spark is going to be better than they were last week, though. That is the video, though, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Join the giveaway, subscribe, like, whatever. You know what it is. I love you all. Thank you so much for watching it. Peace.